It's like a beautiful, shining, towering monument quietly awaiting an atomic bomb. Better than food, man. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Better Than Food Book Reviews. I'm your host, Clifford Lee Sargent. Great to see you as always. Hope you're doing well. Did I get that right? Is that the order of operations in which I say things? I cannot remember. Anyways, beautiful day out there. Blue skies, golden sunshine. Just like David says, oh, this neighbor of mine is opening his window. He's a strange one. He has these giant, like, anime stuffed toys, like, hanging out in his window. And I always tell my wife, sure sign of mental illness is something like that. Definitely. They're like these, like, they're not Totoro, but they look kind of like Totoro. There's like these giant, fluffy, fat, animated things that are kind of staring at me from the window. Anyways, he just opened up one of his, he's opening up all of his windows, revealing all of his animals. And that guy's a fucking weirdo, psychopath. Anyways, wonder what he thinks of me. The windows are open here, so if people were walking their dog by, they could see me in here talking to a camera. It's not like I'm any better. My favorite thing is when people ask what I do for a living. I'm like, well, you didn't know. I bitch about books on YouTube. I still haven't figured out how to talk about it at parties. Anyways, today is The Pilgrim Hawk by Glenway Wescott. Beautiful edition here from NYRB. Full disclaimer, I am partially sponsored by them in that they send me free books from time to time. I think they're fantastic. This one, however, I picked up at a used bookstore in Hood River, Oregon. Beautiful place and nice little bookstore up there. The bookstore was called Artifacts, Good Books and Bad Art. It's kind of funny. There was a lot of great used books in there, very reasonable prices, very nice selection, especially for a small town. So if you're ever passing through, Hood River is a fucking beautiful place, I have to say. We stayed there at the Hood River Hotel, and anyways, it's a great place. So, let's talk about this, The Pilgrim Hawk. None other than Susan Sontag said that this short novel was among the treasures of 20th century American literature. But really quick, today's review is sponsored by the Ridge Wallet. These things are awesome. They are light, sleek, industrial, beautiful little pieces of modern minimalist design. Holds up to 12 cards plus room for cash on the back. They also have a thing you can change out here where you can get a clip, cash clip instead of a strap. Either one is great. I prefer the clip actually. But yeah, they're fantastic. This is the forged ash model. It's really neat. These are meant to go into your front pocket or your side pocket, not your back pocket. Please do not sit on them. The durable material means that each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty. You could buy this one wallet and carry it for life. In fact, the Ridge team is so confident you'll like it, they'll let you test drive it for 45 days. You can send it back for a full refund if you don't love it. And if this has not convinced you yet, please check out their 40,000 five-star reviews. 40,000. Get 10% off your order today with free worldwide shipping and returns by going to ridge.com/betterthanfood and using the discount code betterthanfood. The link is below. Thanks a bunch. The Pilgrim Hawk is a short novel by the American author Glenn. The Pilgrim Hawk is an American... Fuck me, this is hard to say. The Pilgrim Hawk is a beautiful, mysterious short novel by the American author Glenway Wescott, published in 1940. It has a dangerous tone, an atmosphere of wealth and people desperately trying to keep up appearances, in a European setting like something out of a Vogue photo shoot. And you know what's hysterical about that? I totally fucking called it. I found this article that I linked below. I just discovered this before shooting this. Sure enough, there's a picture in Vogue magazine in the 60s from 1963 of Wescott reading to none other than the famous fashion model Veruschka. If you don't know who Veruschka is, and that might be many of you, you're probably too young. I am too, really. But old soul. Please go watch Antonioni's masterpiece, Blow Up, with David Hemmings playing a fashion photographer in London based on David Bailey. And if you're still pulling a blank, think of yes, yes, yes. That is the iconic scene, and Veruschka is the model in that scene. Great scene, great film, great author, great model, great model. Anyways, moving on. What was I talking about? Books. Yes, that's right. This is a pre-war realist novel set in the 20s. One afternoon in the 1920s. It's from the perspective of an American expat named Alwyn Tower. He's visiting his female friend Alex on this estate outside of Paris. Their relationship is ambiguous. They might have been lovers at one point. They just seem to be friends. Wescott was gay. Famously, he knew Kinsey, and he had this long time gay multi-partner relationship. But you know, in the novel, it's really unspoken. It's kind of we're not really sure. But of course, Tower does seem to be Wescott. We don't know. But anyways, you know, as far as the characters, yes, there's them and Alex. and Alex lives with her servants, this married couple from North Africa named Jean and Ava. So while Alwyn is visiting, this wealthy Irish couple, the Cullens, stop by for dinner. Stop by to visit Alex and have dinner. And they're on their way to Hungary, where they've rented a place. And they bring along with them, constantly attached to this leather glove worn by Madeline, this falcon named Lucy, a Pilgrim Hawk. Madeline is very interesting. She took up falconry. Her and her husband, they go off and do all these sort of things like, the Cullens don't work. They fill up their lives with travel and hunting trips or excursions, or also funding Irish rebels, apparently. Larry Cullen was rich. He married Madeline, and then he kind of just funds her whims, and they roll around the world doing whatever she wants to do, basically, and he kind of goes along with it. And he's an alcoholic. He's also jealous of the bird, and also of their chauffeur, named Ricketts, who appears to be coming on to Madeline from time to time. But yeah, that's later. We don't figure that out till later. But as soon as she brings this bird into this place, immediately there's this tension. It's interesting to note how all of this builds. You know how it is when a certain kind of couple walks into a party, or you're introduced to some people. A certain kind of couple, married or unmarried, I don't think it matters. And they're trying to be friendly or polite. And, not only that, but, like charming and flattering as well, and ha. And you can tell that they've just been like fighting, or something like that, or had some like major disagreement. Or they're like doing these looks to each other back and forth that like signal so much more than simple things, like there's so much behind their gazes at each other, or their cutting stares or something like that. All the while it's a charade trying to ward off the nightmare of a relationship that they've been inhabiting, that they've just stepped out of briefly. As if they're trying to clandestinely bury a body, Almost immediately we realize there's something strange going on. I mean, this woman is carrying around this bird and just gushing over it profusely all the time. What this bird comes to represent is not immediately obvious to me. Could be marriage, could be many things, could be love, could be the idea of love, the desire for love. I'm not sure. It's unclear. But of course, that's kind of the appeal of the novel. So like a baby or a dog, the entire focus of the afternoon's events all revolve around this bird of prey that smells like blood and honey, as Wescott writes. Great line. It's all Madeline talks about. And we come to see, unsurprisingly probably, that Larry hates the hawk. Small wonder, right? This is all pre-war, and it's hinted in the beginning by Alwyn from the point in time wherein he's actually narrating the book, which I believe is in the 40s, so in the future, that after this episode, of which the book is composed of, they all had to return to America, at least, him and Alex. Because Europe descended into war. The setting, the end of the 20s is important. This is like the last hurrah of good times. This is right before everything descends into the biggest chaotic nightmare civilization has ever seen. Needless to say, the 20s were very different from the 30s, and now the 40s had begun. In the 20s, it was not unusual to meet foreigners in some country as foreign to them as to you, your peregrination just crossing theirs, and you did your best to know them in an afternoon or so. And perhaps you called that little lightning knowledge friendship. There was a kind of idealistic or optimistic curiosity in the air, and vagaries of character and the various war and peace that goes on in the psyche seemed of the greatest interest and even importance. That's an interesting thing to think about, the kind of the tones of an era which you're not really sensitive to while you're living in it, Like, and you never really realize that the one that you were inhabiting is actually going to be far better than the one that is ushered in quickly, by surprise, all of a sudden, at the end of 2019. It never fucking ends. It never just goes away. It's very interesting that he uses the word peregrination as well. Did you catch that? I had to look it up, but why would he use that word? Because the Pilgrim Hawk is a peregrine falcon. The bird seems to be a symbol for marriage, love, or relationships. Every now and then it starts to fidget and bait. It's when a bird on your glove tries to fly away, but then it can't. I told my wife about the book, and she thought that the idea of time in novels and films was very interesting. And I agree, like the contraction or expansion therein, right? That's what we were discussing. And how it can change the narrative. You can have an entire book that takes place over an instant or an afternoon like this, or you can skip 100 years in one line. It really changes everything. It's compelling what authors do with it. So you have the Cullens that are married, and then you have the servants, Jean and Ava, who are married, and then you have Alex, and then you have our narrator, Alwyn, and this chauffeur with the Cullens named Ricketts. who apparently flirts with Madeline sometimes and drives Larry crazy. So all of this is leading to a culmination, like to a boiling point, basically. And that's immediately apparent as soon as you start reading the novel. And so you're wondering the entire time, what is going to happen? Who is going to do something weird? Who's going to commit some sort of disruptive or abrasive action? I don't know. It's interesting to note that later on in the novel there are anecdotes of Ava, the servant, flirting with people from time to time as well in front of Jean, which drives him crazy. So all this tension culminates in this moment of violence, kind of, at the end of the novel, which exposes all the tension beneath the Cullens' relationships. Although Larry Cullen gets drunk with Alwyn, and Alwyn actually doesn't get drunk, I don't think. He just he feeds Larry alcohol because Larry's an alcoholic, and he kind of just volunteers a lot of his inappropriate thoughts and opinions regarding his wife. So you know something's going to happen. And Alwyn, the entire time, is sort of inactive. He's just kind of like, he's really just a vessel for us to witness the series of events through. He doesn't really have any kind of consequential role in the goings-on. He's just sort of fiercely critical and observant the entire time. And there's kind of a fake climax at one point. The book tricks you into thinking it's going to be one thing, and that doesn't turn out to be the case. It's kind of a precursor, though. It was kind of a mystery. I was hooked, wondering about what exactly was going to happen, like wondering where it's all going. This all takes place over a single afternoon in the 1920s before the war, in very few pages, like only just over 100. And the illustration of all these characters, with their flaws and personalities, lends to the whole believability of the situation, which in itself is bizarre. But what really kept me going was just how good the writing was. I drew a deep breath, in which I got the hawk odor, slightly bloody, slightly peppery. I had noticed it before, but without distinguishing it from Mrs. Cullen's French scent. The body, well balanced on its hot feet, weighed less than I had supposed. At the least move, her talons pricked the leather and pulled it a bit, as fashionable women's fingernails do on certain fabrics, though evidently she held them as loose and harmless as she could. Only her grip as a whole was hard, like a pair of tight, heated iron bracelets. Wow, yeah. That's disgustingly good writing. What's odd is that Wescott actually stopped writing fiction after 1945. This was published in 1940. He wrote another one called Apartment in Athens. And then for 40 years or something like that, he just stopped writing fiction. Wrote some other stuff and I think maybe essays and edited some things, but yeah, just stopped writing fiction. I'm not exactly sure why, and I'm not sure if he was either. Wescott is kind of an odd scalpel to social situations. He's kind of like John Cassavetes. It's a beautiful kind of writing that he's crafted. Studious, cold, subdued, perfected, austere, yet beautiful. Mostly austere. Maybe precious, but not quite. Again, like the whole Vogue thing, the whole Vogue attitude, that's his style. His writing is like the equivalent of an Art Deco building or high fashion clothing. It's stylish, but it's serious. Severe, yet simultaneously strikingly luxurious. I've never read an author quite with his style. It's very compelling. Glenway Wescott was born on a pig farm in Wisconsin. Glenway Wescott was born on a pig farm in Wisconsin, but went on to become an expat and kind of hang around, kick around the social circles of Paris in the 20s with Hemingway and Fitzgerald, and he knew Ford Madox Ford, those kind of circles. Gertrude Stein was aware of him, was not a fan of him, neither was Hemingway. Hemingway met him and based the character in The Sun Also Rises' Robert Prentice on him. According to Wikipedia, Jake Barnes, who is the main character of The Sun Also Rises, I read it like 1,000 years ago and I don't remember a single bit about it. I have to reread it. But anyways, Jake Barnes, the narrator, meets him. And according to Wikipedia, after meeting this character that is based on Wescott, this character named Prentice, says, "I just thought perhaps I was going to throw up." No idea what he meant by that, but then, Hemingway said plenty of fucked up shit. But the novel is short, tense, and terse. This kind of straining tension permeates the quiet lines, which are sculpted to perfection. It's like a beautiful, shining, towering monument quietly awaiting an atomic bomb. There's an underlying violence to the upper-class setting. It's like a Michael Haneke film. Overall, I thought it was great. I thought it was very, very mysterious, very intriguing. I'd really like to study how he puts a sentence together, because Wescott's sentences are just exceptional. The last line of the book is terrific. It's this line about the ambiguous desire of humans for drama in their relationships, even at the cost of the tragedy it may bring. It's insightful, it's accurate, I think. I feel that that is true. Humans Humans love their tragedy. They wouldn't know what to do without it. Really, I do not think that anybody actually wants peace. They might think they do. They might think they do. They might actually want it. They really might. But they're so frightened at giving up the other things, that to give up their tragedy, to give up all the other things that cause all of this discordant stress and anxiety and misery and tragedy in their lives, would be to destabilize them so much that they would have no idea how to operate without those things. It's very scary to give all that up, if you know what I'm saying. To give up all of those attachments to other things and actually have a life of peace. It's actually a horrifying idea to most people. So, now I'm not saying it's good or bad, or it's right or wrong. It has nothing to do with that. It's just that's just a fact, right? You know, that's how it is. The story did remind me a little bit of The Short Happy Life of Francis McComber, as well as The Great Gatsby. Although I liked this way more than The Great Gatsby. I don't know why. I guess I kind of buy Wescott more than Fitzgerald. I don't buy Fitzgerald. I'm not sure why. Yet, at least. So, I've only read it once, but yeah, it's definitely of that era, right? But if my memory serves, which it never does, so don't believe a word I say, Wescott is possibly more insightful, in my opinion, than Hemingway and Fitzgerald. I think that he is more studious. He's not more entertaining, that would be Hemingway. Wescott is more serious. He might be more insightful into the complex mechanisms of relationships than Hemingway. That might be true. Hemingway is very much a black and white, good, evil kind of guy. Hemingway believes in ethics and ideals. Wescott is a little more complicated. Yeah. And ambiguous. Hemingway's not ambiguous. Maybe his later work is, I don't know. I gotta read Islands in the Stream. That one might have been a little bit. But more ambiguous about the kind of nature of life and death and the narrative of life and death. Anyways, just But Wescott seems more studious. He seems like more of an adult, aged, wise, but much, much colder, almost dangerous, edging towards an almost like Bret Easton Ellis austerity sometimes. Understated. I'll put it like this: I'd be afraid to be trapped in a room with the man. He's so critical. He's like a hawk stripping layers of its victim's flesh away until he gets at the raw bone of the matter underneath. But he does it in such a sincere, elegant way. That's a little like what the story's like. A surgical uncovering of what lies beneath all the pretension and manners. But maybe he sounds more cruel than I should make him. It's not necessarily true, right? He's not all the time. And he's a contradiction, it seems. He is sometimes. He's kind of cruel, particularly when he's feeding alcohol to Larry. But he may not be, you know. He's also kind of sympathetic. It's hard to tell. Ambiguity, again. At times, he seems reluctant to utilize his sharp talons of powerful observation. A reluctant hawk, a guilt-ridden falcon, right? One thing about falcons, they have no guilt. They're designed for the most efficient kind of killing. Pure murder made manifest, but not without a strange kind of ethics which may have just been pragmatic on nature's part. The first thing that they do to their prey, I learned from this book, is snap the spinal cord, so no more pain for the prey. Which is very merciful. Something that not all animals do. Just think of, you know, lions or tigers. Cats, basically. Cats are fucking evil. Of course, again, pragmatic, probably just to keep the prey still. Like a spider's venom. Creepy, right? So better than food. I didn't actually mean to do that. It's kind of a weird segue. So you should read it. Anyone who enjoys quiet, dark tales of domestic drama with European backdrops. Yeah. Ford, Madox Ford, Hemingway, Fitzgerald. Wescott knew those people and his work lives in the same world. I didn't care for Ford, Madox Ford at all, and I didn't care for Fitzgerald either. I do like Hemingway and Wescott. Interesting. I don't know. Yeah, just my personal taste. Subject to change. And you might enjoy it if you enjoyed J.A. Baker's The Peregrine. That was a good one. One of my favorites in 2020. It's pretty wordy with all the nature descriptions, but you know, it's a good book. Solid book. That's a completely different kind of book, but the avian appeal, nevertheless, is there, if you're into birds, right? Also dark, but far more of like a descriptive nature read. This is an entirely indoor setting, focused solely on human relationships. I really enjoyed it. Unsettling, cultivated, tragic, and sympathetic to human nature and the desire for love. I'd reread it. Yeah, better than food. Coffee time. For those of you who are new, I take all of the names of the patrons on Patreon who have donated $5 or more per video to the show. I place their names in this mason jar, and I pull out a name for every review. And whoever's name I pull out, I send them a hard copy of the book I'm reviewing, plus a bag of coffee, roasted by yours truly. And the coffee is delicious. Currently, it's from El Salvador, and it's terrific. If you would like to get in on that and help support the show, thank you so much. You can click on the link below or go to patreon.com/books are better than food and donate $5 or more per video. And I sincerely appreciate you helping me keep this whole thing going. Thanks a bunch. For $1 or more, you'll get access to the Patron-Only Reviews, the Discord channel, plus a Better Than Friday newsletter, which I send out every Friday, which is just a list of 5 different things that I'm interested in at any given time. Could be books in the pipeline, music, films, changes week to week. If you think we have similar taste, I think you'll get a lot of value out of that. Unfortunately, international shipping is not included. Thank you very much to all the patrons. Hope you're doing well, and best of luck. Okay, here we go. Balthazar. Balthazar B. Thank you very much, Balthazar. You're going to receive the Pilgrim Hawk by Glenway Wescott, plus a bag of delicious coffee. And I hope you love both. Thank you so much. Please subscribe if you have not already. Hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this, and always remember to bring a book wherever you go. All right, that's all I've got for you today. Take care of yourselves. Have a great night. Talk to you soon. Ciao.